Is this really the best Friday the 13th film? Find out in my next slasher series review of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Stay tuned. What is up, everyone? I'm Ken with Mid-Level Media, here to bring you another slasher series review of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. I'm excited to dive into this one. This is a part of my ongoing slasher series of the Friday the 13th franchise, starting with, I did Jason Takes Manhattan. I've done the original Friday the 13th. Jason X, I did the Final Friday, Part 4. I did New Beginning last week. So I'm kind of going a little bit out of order, but I wanted to do this, what I would call the Tommy Jarvis trilogy in the Friday the 13th universe. I wanted to do all those in sequence. So after this, who knows where I go. But today I've arrived at Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6. So this is my 6th review in the Friday the 13th franchise. If you want to check out some of my other reviews, go back on my channel in my reviews playlist and check out some of those other Friday the 13th reviews. I definitely have been enjoying doing this series as a part of that Scream Factory box set that I got a couple of months ago. I said I wanted to review all the Friday the 13th films, and so far with this review today, I am halfway through the series. It's looking good so far, looking like I'm going to get them all done, so I'm very excited to dive into this one here today, excited to dive into future ones, so definitely check those out. And if you guys would be so kind, if this is your first time checking me out on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and turn on all bell notifications for future videos, and like this video, guys. If you like this content, if you watch these reviews, please give this video a like, show the support, show me that you're watching and enjoying the video, and also be sure to comment down below your thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And this is a lot of people's favorite of the entire Friday the 13th franchise. A lot of people point to this one, or they point to Part 4, the final chapter. But to be honest, in my opinion, and I'm going to go into this in a second, I still like the final chapter a little bit more as far as the Tommy Jarvis films. There's other Friday the 13th films that I like more than both of them. But this film is written and directed by Tom McLaughlin, one of the few people that wrote and directed his own Friday the 13th film. It came out in 1986. The movie is starring Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis. So this is the third actor that played the character of Tommy Jarvis. The guy that played him in Part 5, there were some contract disputes. He didn't want to come back. He moved on to bigger and better things, whatever. I've never heard of the guy, but he didn't want to come back to do Jason Lives. So they got Tom Matthews, and in my opinion, he's a better Tommy Jarvis. I preferred him more than the one that played Tommy, who was really a nothing personality. Tommy Jarvis in this one, Tom Matthews, really brings a lot of personality to that character. The movie also stars Jennifer Cook as Megan, who is the sheriff's daughter. That's kind of the final girl in this movie, but we'll get into that as well. And also, CJ Graham plays Jason in this movie, which is the last Jason performance that we get before Kane Hodder takes over the role with Part 7, Part 8. Jason Goes to Hell. So this is the last actor to take on the mantle of Jason until Kane Hodder took on that role and kind of ran with it with other installments. But this movie, going into the budget, it was budgeted at $3 million. It opened at $6.7 million, and it made $19.5 million domestically at the box office. A little bit diminished returns because I think Friday the 13th Part 5 made $21 million, $23 million before. So the franchise was going down steadily with the box office, and we'll see with the next one. And Jason Takes Manhattan made $14 million. They keep going down, so that means the interest is waning in the Friday the 13th franchise at this point, but they're still making enough money. You got to think about it. Budgeted at $3 million, it still made 6 times its budget. So they're still worth making at this point, but still diminishing returns. People are getting tired of this franchise. So as far as my overall thoughts on this film, I like the old school monster movie feel that this has. It opens up with Tommy and a friend going to the gravesite of Jason and digging him up because he wants to take him out. He wants to make sure that he's dead. And then a lightning bolt strikes Jason and he comes alive. So, of course, we discussed this in the last review. Friday the 13th Part 5 does not have Jason in it. The person that is Jason is a guy that's playing Jason in the film. So they bring back Jason in this one for the first time since Part 4 when he got that blade through his head and was supposedly definitively dead in that film. So in this one, he's full-on zombie Jason. He's been resurrected. He's been reborn. And so I like the fact that they're basically turning, Jason is no longer a man. What is man about him? What is human about him? That is all in the past. He is now full-on, full-fledged monster movie Jason. He is a Frankenstein. He is a Dracula. He is the Mummy. He is no longer a man. He is a full-on monster, and he takes on this mantle. So I love that aspect of the film. This film also has a great visual aesthetic. When they're going to that gravesite, you see the smoke rolling in. And I'll go into a little bit, since we're talking about the visuals, just this release and the transfer on it, because I know some people, they requested me to go over the transfer and how's the HD. This one in particular, out of all the ones I've seen so far, probably looks the best. At least visually. And I think a lot of that has to do with the aesthetics. But this film, a lot of it is at night. And I know a lot of Friday the 13th films are at night, but this one in particular I felt was almost all shot at night. There's very few scenes in the daytime in this one. So the HD quality of this one looks phenomenal. Honestly, the best one that I've seen so far as the screen factor. The sound is great. The score in this one by Harry Manfredini is a lot different from any of his other scores. And I like the way that he keeps changing things up while still making it feel similar in tone and vibes with the rest of the universe. But the score in this one's absolutely fantastic. Sound, visuals. This is a top-notch Scream Factory release right here in transfer. So out of all the ones I've watched, this is probably the best. I have the least problems with out of all of them. So as far as special features, great special features. I love watching these documentaries, these behind the scenes look at what went into making the films and the ideas behind Jason and how they wanted to change the franchise and do this, because every director has their different take on Jason, and this one is a very distinct take on that character. The fact that he was resurrected, that he came back from the dead, that it's very old school, classic Universal monster feel with this movie, and I do appreciate it. The character of Tommy a lot more in this one, probably for the first time since Corey Feldman played him as a little kid. I enjoyed what he brought to the character. He's very manic. He's very like almost possessed with the idea that Jason is alive, because he sees him come alive in the beginning of the film. But even before that, he's obsessed with Jason, with the idea of Jason still being alive, still maybe possibly potentially coming after him. So he is very much that character that warning that has to go out there and warn everybody, Jason's alive, and nobody believes him, of course, because that's the way you start and structure all of these films. But I really like the actor. I thought he brought a lot to the role. As far as other characters, there's a really small cast in this one as compared to other Friday the 13th films. That's not to say that the body count suffers, because they find ways to bring in other people. But as far as like the cast of teens, there's only really 4. There's the sheriff's daughter, who's played by Jennifer Cook. She's really good in the role. She's really spunky. She's really, she's witty. She talks back to her dad, but they have a really solid relationship, a really sweet father-daughter relationship that I appreciated in this type of film, them bringing that kind of emotional relationship and weight to the film. I thought that you don't really see a lot of that in Friday the 13th. Really, the only other film that you see that is in part 4 with the family dynamic, with the sister and the mother and all of that. So I really liked the father-daughter dynamic. I liked her performance. I liked all of the kids in this, really. None of them really stands out to me like some of the characters do in part 4. I do like the teens in that a little bit more, but I think the 4 characters that they have in this are solid. Now, this film is very meta. They bring a lot of meta concepts into this film. They kind of acknowledge the fact that they're in a horror movie a couple of times throughout the film, and I know that was a point of contention with some of the studio executives when they brought Tom McLaughlin in, because he wanted to bring this more satirical meta approach to the Friday the 13th franchise, and they said, do whatever you want, just don't make fun of or make light of Jason the character. Make sure he is protected at all times. And Jason does, he remains strong through this film. People make fun of, they make light of certain situations, but it's never at Jason's expense and never at his detriment as a character. So some of the meta aspects, the jokey aspects of this film didn't exactly land with me. The whole paintball scene I thought was extremely goofy, even though it does lead to one of the coolest kills in the entire movie, which I'll get to in the kills section of the scoring. But that whole sequence didn't really land with me. There were a couple other things here and there that didn't land with me. Just that style, I didn't think jived really well with the Friday the 13th films. Another thing is this movie, unlike any other Friday the 13th movie, it actually brings in smaller children. And I think the idea was to raise the stakes because the smaller kids are there. And what if Jason kills the kids? But there's some kids there. There's about 20 of them that they're a big part of the final act of this film, running around. But none of them ever really get hurt. None of them. So it kind of defeats the purpose of bringing them in. But it was kind of interesting to see kids in this world with Jason. Like I do with all these reviews, I'm not rating this film based on the actual movie itself, the filmmaking qualities. Although if I were to rate this one based on the movie, I would probably give it about a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10 right there, because I think it's a very solid slasher movie. But let's get into the things that make a slasher movie great, and that is the kills, the gore, the killer himself, the final girl, all of those scoring criteria that I'm going to go into with this review. That is what I'm rating this film on this slasher review. So let's start with the kills, guys. There is 18 kills in this movie. The best kill or kills in this movie happens all at once, and that is the triple machete decapitation of the paintballers in the woods, done by Jason. He just slices them all out in the woods, and they all die at once. It's a badass kill. I love that kill. So that's my favorite. The stupidest kill is the same scene actually, but the paintballers. He takes a guy's head, throws it into a tree, and then he falls to the ground. There's a smiley face imprint in the tree that's really dumb. It's like I said, it's very that kind of goes into the dumb humor and the meta-ness of the movie, the satiricalness of it. It was just kind of stupid, and it kind of eliminated the weight of that kill. So I didn't really like that, but the kills are pretty solid across the board. I give those an 8 out of 10. Now let's go into the gore, because there's some pretty good gore in this movie. Of course, Tom Savini didn't come back after part 4 to this film, so it's a whole new team doing the makeup, the gore. I thought they all did a pretty good job. There's a really cool scene where he kills a girl inside of a cabin, and then they show it later, and the entire cabin is covered in blood. So some really good gore there. So there was a lot of ratings issues and the people attacking the horror industry at this time, as far as like what you could show and what you couldn't. So some of the scenes feel a little bit neutered from what they possibly could have been. Overall, though, I thought this had good gore. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 for the gore. As far as the killer, I thought CJ Graham did a really good job bringing the physicality. Iconic shot in the graveyard. There's also a really cool shot after an RV flips and he's standing atop the RV and there's fire. That's really awesome shot. So for the killer, I like the physicality he brought to it. I would give him an 8 out of 10 as far as the killer in this one. The final girl, so I would classify Megan as the final girl in this one, even though I know Tommy, but he's kind of really in the background of a lot of these movies. It's really the final girl that's doing a lot of the work. And even in this movie, she gets the final kill with the boat kill with the motor of the boat, and it kind of slicing up his head, kind of delivering that final blow. So I would give her the final girl. Like I said, I like Megan a lot. I think she has a lot of spunk, a lot of charisma to her and her performance, especially in her relationship with her father. So I would give her an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm going to go into this again, and I know I did it last week as a joke, but I'm going to go into it again because I think it's important to note with this one. For the booby score, and I know one of my subscribers will appreciate this. I give it a 0 out of 10 because this movie, I think, might be the only film in the Friday the 13th franchise that does not have any nudity. There are no topless scenes. There is nothing. There is a sex scene, but there's no topless scenes, no nudity whatsoever in this Friday the 13th film, which is a complete contrast to Part 5, which has like the most nudity. So I don't know if they had it in their head they wanted to tone that down a bit, or Tom McLaughlin was going for that more classic movie feel and just didn't want to incorporate those explicit sexual scenes in the film. But 0 out of 10 for the booby score. So that gives us an 8.25 out of 10, guys, for the final slasher movie score of this film. Like I said, I enjoy this one a lot. I know a lot of people, this is their favorite. This is not my favorite. I don't know where it will exactly lie in my rankings as of right now. I think it's a really fun Friday the 13th film, but I still like Part 4 better. I still like the original better. ones that we're going to get to I enjoy more. So this would probably lie somewhere in the middle for me as far as Friday the 13th. But if this is your favorite, I completely understand it and appreciate that opinion. But that does it, guys, for this week's Friday the 13th review, part 6, Jason Lives. I hope you all enjoyed this slasher series review. Next week, we will be returning, and we're going all the way back to part 2 from 1981, Friday the 13th part 2. And then I'm probably going to go into 3D after that, and then we're going to go forward again. So like I said, I like to kind of jumble these around a little bit. It's just funner for me and keeps things a little bit more interesting. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave me your thoughts in the comments below on Friday the 13th part 6. Let me know how you feel about the film. Is it your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on all bell notifications for future videos and future Friday the 13th series slasher reviews, and we'll see you next time.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. Don't let her get away, Mommy. Don't let her live. I won't, Jason. I won't.